I remember like with Herbie Hancock, I did a project. Oh, this is beautiful. You want to hear about professionalism? Herbie Hancock and Stevie Wonder. Herbie Hancock was on piano, and Stevie Wonder was on Rhodes, or a piano, electric piano. And they're running the tune down. It's about, and through the whole thing, I was always fascinated listening to jazz guys. They'd go like, well, okay, on this one in the bridge, I'm going to say, now what are you going to say? And he'd go, well, I go boom, 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 boom. Is that all right? He said, no, 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 no. Say something that means something to me. And then they always, I'll say this, you say that. If you've heard, for instance, like Ravi Shankar, or these guys talk tabla, drum talk, they say the same thing. They go, okay, I'll say digga da da digga da 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 dig, and you'll say boom ba da digga dum boom ba digga digga, and they talk like that, and they understand what each is doing. So that with their instruments, they're talking, and I kind of gravitated to that musicians, when they're making music in the studio, actually using their instruments to say things to one another, or to the listener. They're saying, oh, I'm going to say this, and if you want it to really do, you can enforce it by saying that. And so here's Stevie Wonder and Herbie. And they've been running the tune down for about 5 minutes, and finally Herbie says, okay, hold it, guys. He said, okay, let's put it down. And so I said, okay, here we go, take one. And Stevie says, he holds his hand up, he says, can I hear more of my piano? In the phones, because they had the phones on. Well, it happened that in the mix that it was going to the phones, I had him up all the way, along with everything else. And I began to explain. I said, look, I'll give me a second, because I have to bring everybody else down a little bit so you can hear more of yourself. I got halfway through the statement. He goes, never mind, I'll make believe I hear more. Here we go, 1, 2, 1. And I turned to the producer, I said, now that's a pro. How many times have you been, anybody that's been in a recording session, and I know you have, and certainly Roger, I mean, they're ready to make the take. Here we go, take 14, or whatever it is. Here we go, take 14. Can I hear less drums? Why did you wait till now? I mean, we're ready to go. I mean, the mood is right there, and you're going to stop. Okay, okay, now bring it down. No, not okay. Now wait a minute. What happened to the bass? And they hold the whole thing up, and then you expect the feeling to be there. And when Stevie said, "Never mind, I'll make believe I hear more." Here we go. 1, 2. I thought, isn't that's a pro? You get people like that, you learn from, because they know what's important. And it's anyway. So at the beginning, you created music. You could watch it grow. You created. When multi-track came out, it was a wonderful boon. I used to teach audio engineering at one time, and I used to tell my students, I used to bring them into the control room, and a lot of them had seen the stuff, because musicians. I used to ask. Before the class started, I say, okay, how many are here because they're interested in engineering? They really want to be engineers. A couple of hands go up. I said, how many are musicians who want to do their own recording? The hands would go up. I said, okay. Right away I saw trouble. I said, it's bad enough. You took the picture for the cover, you wrote the liner notes, you wrote the song, you performed the song, now you want to record the song. That's why it's called a vanity label, I guess.
Guilty as charged?
Huh?
Guilty as charged?
Guilty as charged. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's fine. If you want to do it, you can do it. But what I'm saying is that, there are people who. I remember one time I was you musicians, you songwriters. This is a very interesting thing. He's telling me what to do. He says, well, no, you need more of this, and you need less of that. I said, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to do? What is it you want? And he would explain. I said, okay. I said, that's not the way to do it. He says, don't tell me. I wrote the song. I know how it should be. I said, you know what you want to achieve. But remember, this is a psychoacoustic phenomenon. When people listen to the music, you're not there. There is no music. It's artificially generated by a cone moving air. Something goes on in the brain when that's happening. They don't see you. All they have is what you hear. It's been my life's work to know how to achieve a certain result by doing certain things with the sound you create. You tell me what you want to achieve. I'll tell you the best way to get that effect acoustically. I know what you want is what you hear in your head, you think is that this is the way to do it. I said, that's why I'm not playing the instrument, because that's not my forte. My forte is knowing how to convey what you do the way you want it to the listener. And it's not what you want me to do. And it's hard to get people to understand that concept. That you hire an expert because that person's supposed to know about that. You didn't hire me because I'm writing the song. You hired me to record something because you hired me to make the sound, to preserve the sound in a way that will communicate what you want to communicate long after you're gone away. And that's a whole nother discipline. Any more than I could sit and play or write a song like you do. I said, it took me half a lifetime to learn this. I used to tell my students when we started, after this whole business with the hands, I said, the first part of the semester, all you're going to learn about, you're not going to learn about mics, you're not going to learn about amps, modules, recording, anything like that. I said, how many think, do you know who Stradivarius is? And a few hands would go up. I said, he's a master violin maker. His violins sell for thousands of dollars. Takes a long time to make a violin, maybe, a few months to finally finish making a violin. Do you think Stradivarius knew anything about music? Oh, Stradivarius, of course. So do you think he knew anything about wood? Wood? What do you mean? I said, do you think he could just go up and take a piece of wood and make a violin and make it perfect? Maybe 4 months of his life was going to be spent whittling this wood, carving this wood and making a violin out of it. He had to look at that wood and know that it was worth putting in the time. So he began to know more about wood than anybody around here does. He could tell by knocking on it, by looking at the grain, by holding it, feeling the weight, whether that piece of wood was worth making a violin out of. You are going to learn the medium in which you're working. Stradivarius worked in wood. You work in sound. I'm going to teach you about sound. I'm going to teach you all the physics of sound, the phenomenon of sound. Nothing to do with music, nothing to do with recording, nothing to do with anything, but you're going to understand that phenomenon, that thing that happens that we call sound. And then I would go, and I don't want to do the class, but that's what the class was. Teaching the engineers to be all about sound. I said, because once you know the medium you're working in, you are in control. Otherwise, you end up with a situation like I was working with a producer once. He said, I don't like the sound of that bass. I said, okay, what would you like? He said, I don't know, twiddle the knobs, I'll tell you when I hear something. Now, a good producer would have said, well, I think it's a little heavy on about 100 cycles, or maybe you can get a sharper peak at 100, or whatever it was. He could more or less give me an idea, But to say just twiddle the knobs, well, that would be the same with an engineer who says, I don't know, I'll put the mic here, and if I don't like it, maybe I'll try it over there, I'll move it here. But if you know the physics of sound, you know, already going in, you've got 50% of your problem solved, because you already know, because the drum is here and the piano is there, you know what's going to happen acoustically.